Dear friends, welcome to the Women Awakening Project YouTube channel, a space to gather the wisdom of women across spiritual traditions. If you like the topic, you can subscribe to our channel. If you like the interview, you can actually like it and you can leave comments below. This helps us to grow. Today we are sitting with Sister True Virtue, also called Sister Annabelle Lighty. She has been the first Western woman ordained by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh in 1988. In the interview, she starts by sharing her experience of ordination in Bihar on the Vulture Peak in India. It's a very powerful, special place and such a meaningful way to start one's own ordained life. With decades of monastic life, Sister True Virtue can offer really a rare window into the heart of the Buddhist practice. And the main teaching that comes up from her words is how mindfulness is not something we do, it's not something we practice only when we sit down on the meditation cushion. It is a 24/7 training of the heart. So like the sound of a gong, tuning in the power of mindfulness and the beautiful sound of presence really emanates and reach every field of life. From the foundations of the mindfulness practice in ethics to the core of its felt experience, which is interbeing, to infinite branches in which the mindfulness can grow. The way we think, speak, and act. I hope this interview nourishes you and inspires you to grow into mindfulness. Enjoy the interview. So, dear friends, we are here today at Plum Village in the south of France. Plum Village is a global community of mindfulness retreat centers, and we are with Sister True Virtue. She is a very active member of the community, teaching Dharma all over the world, and she has been also the first European woman to be ordained by Master Thich Nhat Hanh. So thank you so much for being here today with the Women Awakening Project.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So the ordination, I would like to start from that because your full ordination happened in a very special place, which is the Vulture Peak in Bihar, India. And it was in 1988. The Vulture Peak, for who doesn't know, was the place where it is said the Buddha gave many discourses, which became important sutras, such as the Lotus Sutra and the Heart Sutra. So being ordained there, it feels like a huge special occasion. So can you bring us there in 1988 on the Vulture Peak?
Oh. I think my teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, had a very special relationship with the Vulture Peak. When we went there for this visit to India in 1988, it was not the first time that I'm going to call my teacher Thầy. It is the Vietnamese word for teacher. In the past, Thầy had sat on the Vulture Peak to watch the sun going down. And while Thầy was sitting watching the sun going down, he realized that he was looking with the eyes of the Buddha. The Buddha had also sat there and watched the sun go down. So this ordination day, we didn't watch the sun go down, we watched the sun come up. And it's quite a special ordination, because it's the first bhikshuni ordination that, and there was also one novice with us. So there was the novice ordination, and then myself and my elder sister, Sister Jan Khom, whom you know, we were ordained after that. I decided to I didn't decide. I wanted to be a nun for a long time, but Thich had told me that it's not the right time. The West is not ready for nuns yet, or monks, because they have seen many difficulties in the Catholic Church, and they lose their faith a little bit in monasticism. So I think if you want to become a nun, you better go to Asia. They'll be more accepted. But and then when we were in India, I heard that, oh, 2 of my sisters are going to become nuns, so I thought maybe I can push in, gate crash. I asked again. And then Thich said, okay, ask Sister Chankom to show you how to put on the Sangati robe. And so that is something you need to know for the ceremony, because you will need to put on Sangati robe. So there were many things about that ordination which are not exactly orthodox. But the spirit of Thich and the spirit of the Buddha on the Grittakuta is so is so strong that we felt that we have enough conditions to become a nun and to keep our nunhood for the rest of our life. So that was a wonderful day, and after that we after the official ordination, and they only take a small amount of your hair. The ordination master, he just cuts a small amount from the top of your head of your hair. But after the formal ordination, you have to shave your head completely. Shaving my head completely. I make the great vow today to put an end to all my afflictions and to help all people go to the other shore. So we shave our head. And after I shaved my head, Thich said, oh, you look so much more beautiful as a nun than you did without your hair. You look so much more beautiful than with your hair. But in fact, the reason we shave our head is so we look less beautiful. It's like Catholic nuns, they cut off the hair so they don't look beautiful. But Thich say you look more beautiful. But I think that is a kind of, not the kind of worldly beauty. That is the spiritual beauty. Because when you receive an ordination, you also receive something that is called a precepts body. Any precept transmission ceremony, you look at the people afterwards and you see their face is very bright and shining. So that is what you receive, precepts body. But after you become ordained, you can't just hope that that precept body always be there. You have to practice in order to keep it. And that is why we have the precepts we have to follow in order to keep our precepts body. So that is wonderful. And then we just enjoy the rest of the day on the Vulture Peak. And we left our hair there. So I don't know what's happened to it now. It's probably gone back to the earth.
How auspicious.
Beautiful, beautiful day.
So you just mentioned about the precepts. I know in Buddhism the precepts are the foundation of the practice. Can you tell us a little bit, what is the connection between ethic and mindfulness? Because sometimes people think it's possible to develop mindfulness, train in mindfulness, but without considering that there is an ethical foundation also that is very, very important.
Yes. That is true. Thank you for making that observation. It's very important in our own time when mindfulness is becoming very widespread and people may think that it is a means to an end. In the worst scenario, a bank robber could say, oh, I must learn mindfulness and concentration because then my robbing the bank will be much more successful. But that is not what we call right mindfulness. I don't know if you know the Noble Eightfold Path.
Yeah.
You do?
Sure. Yes.
So in that you have right mindfulness, right concentration, right view.
Mm-hmm.
So this means there must be wrong mindfulness.
Yeah.
If there's right, there must be wrong. Huh? Wrong concentration. Yeah. So we could say of the bank robber that he is practicing wrong mindfulness. So we must bear in mind that as far as Buddhist practitioners are concerned, mindfulness is right mindfulness. That is mindfulness which has an ethical basis. And the ethical basis, we could say, is the Noble Eightfold Path. Right action, right speech,
Right
livelihood, thank you, you know it all, so I didn't say, yes. And so we need to have all those parts of the Noble Eightfold Path because they they are with each other. If you don't have right action and right speech, you cannot really have right mindfulness. And if you don't have right mindfulness, you cannot have right action, right speech. So what the lay people receive, and actually we call the 5, what do you call, precepts. Yeah, but we call them 5 mindfulness trainings. Yeah. Because we see that don't expect people to do it perfectly. In the first place, they have to train. So those 5 mindfulness trainings are very important. Actually, we have as nuns, we have 348 precepts. But if you look at each one, they are all based in the 5. They are just expanding for different situations that a nun can find herself in. But they are based in the 5 mindfulness trainings. So in fact, the Buddha used the word sikkapada. Sikka means training. So he also used the word mindfulness training. Without the precepts, you cannot have concentration and insight. So what we need to do when we look at our practice of the 5 mindfulness trainings or our practice of the 348 precepts, we need to look and see, do we have the Noble Eightfold Path in our daily life? And the Noble Eightfold Path is wonderful, but it needs to be concretized. We need to have concrete ways of practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. You say right speech, but you need to know, well, what is right speech? How do I practice right speech? And then you come to the 5 mindfulness trainings. And then you will look in you talked about the teachings of the Buddha. One of them is called the Upasaka. Upasika is a lay person. The Lay Person's Sutra. And in that, the Buddha talks about the 5 mindfulness trainings. And he gives quite a detailed explanation of each one of them. That is, the lay person does away with all weapons. He does not keep a gun or anything else which can kill people. He does not kill. He, but also means she. They do not kill. They protect the life of all beings, even the smallest insects, and so on. And this is what Thich tried to do with the 5 mindfulness trainings, to make it concrete. What do you do and what do you not do? And so that is, when we practice mindfulness, we cannot be mindful the whole time. Maybe we think if we're practicing wrong mindfulness, oh, I just need to be mindful when I need to kill somebody, or when I need to rob the bank, or when I want to make a lot of money. But when I don't want those things, I will just do what I like. So I will shout at my spouse, I will shout at my children, I will step on all the insects and so on. And so that means that that is wrong mindfulness. Right mindfulness is mindfulness that is integrated in your life, that you practice all the time in every activity. Or at least you do your best to do that. That is what you want to do. The other thing is that the military, the young men who go into the army, and the police, they want to protect their country, they want to protect the citizens of their country, they have a motivation for doing that. But when they get into the army or the police, they suffer incredibly. They are given a training which dehumanizes them, and they suffer. And we heard from one police officer that the policemen, they kill themselves more than they get killed by other people. And we heard in India, in the army, is the same. The soldiers kill themselves or kill each other more than they get killed by the enemy. Yeah. So this is very serious. And therefore, even the high up in the military in India getting very concerned. And so they say to one of our Dharma teachers, please come and teach us mindfulness. Not because we want to shoot better, but we want to help our young men not to kill themselves and not to kill each other. And so then one of our Dharma teachers went into the army camp and sat and listened and asked them to share about their feelings. And they cried. These young soldiers have to go to war, and so they cried. Why did they cry? They cried because they said, no one has ever asked us about our feelings. So this is a very serious matter. And something at the base, one of the roots of war that we need to look into. It's the training, the way we train the military, dehumanize them, to see the enemy as not worth anything, and not truly human. And only by that kind of training can they dare to go and shoot other people, kill other people, bomb other people. So this, looking at the training and the militarized police and so on, it's something that needs to be really looked into. Yeah. And if mindfulness can help, it will help by right action, right speech, deep listening, and so on.
Yeah, thank you for raising this point. It's a very important reflection. You wrote a book, which is Mindfulness, Walking in Jesus and Buddha. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I was very curious about this. Can you elaborate, talking about this, how mindfulness can be also bridging different traditions, reaching different mindset?
We want to avoid that the West will not Westernized Buddhism.
Yes.
That is, make Buddhism into a means, and not a means which is separate from the end. A materialized Buddhism. So we have to be careful about that. Because what we want to, what we have always wanted to do in the West, is to learn from Eastern spirituality, so that it can, so we can have a spiritual dimension to our lives, which is very important. we see how great a need there is for that. And it's not just in adults that need a spiritual dimension. The children, the teenagers who come here, they also recognize that. One teenager said in our in our Dharma sharing in this retreat, you practice joining your palms, but I teach deaf children, and the sign for this sign for deaf children means home. Something like that, I don't know. So when I go back, I will say we greet each other like this, home. And this means that this young person had found that here was a home. She felt a spiritual home. And that is what we are looking for in the West. So we have to keep the spirituality of, we have to keep spiritual things spiritual, and not try and materialize them. That is, and then we will receive receive the transmission from the Eastern spirituality, which I think in Christianity originally that was there, but in the, I better be careful, in the Vatican and other places maybe it get a little bit lost. One time I went to a conference in the Vatican, and I couldn't talk for very long, I think in 5-10 minutes or something. So I just talk about the experience of children coming to Plum Village. And the audience, I really very moved. Then the next day in the newspaper, it was mentioned. So I was a little bit, a young nun at that time, I was a little bit proud of myself, and so I came back and told Thai, Thai would be so happy. Thai wasn't happy at all. Thai said that you don't become a nun in order to become a star, a film star or something like that. So we have to be careful as monastics. So when we get praise or something, we should not take it seriously. That is just one side. Next day somebody will blame us. Anyway, that is what we need. And we also need what Thai has said is a global spirituality. Something where you can keep your spiritual tradition, you can keep your Christianity, you can keep your Islam, your Hinduism, your Buddhism, you can keep it. So this is something we really need to do, maybe to save our planet also, is that we need to be able to hold hands in the different religions. Now we have a Hindu, Muslim, they fight each other, Catholic, Protestant, they fight each other in Northern Ireland. There's no way ahead for the human species. So somehow we have to find something that we have in common. And I think that now we are finding our love for Mother Earth, our love for nature. That is something we can all feel reverence for, whether we believe in God or we don't believe in God, whether we think that God has created nature or we believe that nature just arose. It doesn't matter. The thing is, we all love nature. We all love Mother Earth. We all want to preserve Mother Earth. This is something that maybe can help us join hands and do things together and not think that our religion is better than somebody else's.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this connects with also the reality of interbeing. So how can we see and tap into the reality of interbeing? Which contemplations or reflections can we bring forth in our daily life to realize it?
So maybe the first thing, the most important thing, is to realize you're interbeing with your family members. Realize that my spouse's happiness and my happiness are not two separate happiness. My spouse suffering and my suffering, not two separate. And the same for my children. My children's happiness is my happiness, my suffering is my children. So that is an important realization, so that you don't only take care of your own happiness, but you also make sure that those around you can be happy. And we practice right speech in this connection. So when we become angry with somebody, for instance, in our family, you become angry with your spouse. So the first thing you need to do is take care of yourself. When you're angry, you suffer, and you make others suffer. Yeah, it affects your liver. That is, we know, affects your spleen. So don't let it carry on too long, because you just damage your own health. And you make the seed of anger stronger in you, so that it becomes like a habit. You will get more easily angry. So we really need to take care of our anger. So you recognize, I'm angry. You say to people around you, I'm angry, and you get out of the way. You go outside, you follow your breathing, you come back to your mindful walking, and you just connect with the beauty of nature around you, if you're lucky enough to have it. If you live in an apartment in the middle of Milan, then you look up at the sky and you see all the sky is beautiful. So that is, you come back to yourself. And then you have to look deeply and to see, yes, my happiness and his happiness are. I'm suffering, but that other person is also suffering. So when I feel I'm suffering, I start to feel compassion for myself. I start to feel, poor me, I'm having to go through this anger, making me suffer. So when I start to feel compassion, it is the antidote for anger, and the anger disappears. And I also begin to recognize that other person is suffering too. And I can begin to feel compassion for the other person as well. So that is very important part of interbeing, the interbeing. But there are other ways you can practice interbeing. It's what we call if you are a gardener, for instance, we call the mud and the lotus. You cannot have a lotus without mud. So mud here represents the anger, the violence, the suffering, and the lotus represents the loving kindness, the compassion, the understanding. So we need to see that we can meditate to see, oh, the flower is made of the sunshine, it's made of the rain, it's made of the earth, it's made of the gardener. If there wasn't the sunshine, the rain, the earth, and the gardener, there would be no flower. So that is interbeing. The interbeing of the flower with the sunshine and the rain. And then you look at the mud. So the mud is made up of all the rotting material, and we don't like it, and we don't want to be in touch with it, but it's very necessary. And so we see, yes, the mud is also made of the sunshine. If we had no sunshine, we would have no mud. It's also made of the rain, made of all the plants and so on. And so then we see the interbeing of the mud and the flower that come, and how they are related. They're made out of the same things, and how they need each other. In fact, if we didn't have suffering, we wouldn't have compassion. We can only be compassionate when we see somebody suffer. So what is the idea of having a place where there is no suffering? There won't be any compassion there either.
So sometimes it's hard to understand and even get in contact with our own suffering or the suffering of others. And I heard you suggesting 2 methods, which I was really, really happy about. One is to understand one's own suffering, and it's writing a letter to oneself. And the other one is to understand the suffering of others and come to terms with it, is to imagine that person as a 5-year-old child. So if you can briefly tell us a bit more of these 2 practices, which I find very nice, very applicable.
Okay, so the first one is that for someone you love, and who, but it could be someone you, like your boss at work, I think you can also do for that person, who really, I don't know, makes you... Challenges you. Yeah, that is the right word. So, and challenges your practice. That is the object. You should be thankful for them. You challenge me, so I really have to practice. Yeah, if you were nice all the time, I wouldn't practice. So that's good to have that kind of person. So what you need to do is you come back home and say, you write it down for yourself. What is it that that person does or says that pushes my button, or whatever it is? And so you write down all things. You write down all the things they say or do, and some good examples of what they say and do. Then the next question is, when they say and do this kind of thing, how do I react? So then you write down, this is how I feel, and then you ask yourself, the next question you ask, is there another way I could react? And then you think, well, I could follow my, and then you write down what you think you could do. So if that person is also practicing, is someone who is, we get angry with them, but we also can sit and talk to each other. So we will share these things with that person. But if that person doesn't practice, they might go off the deep end if they heard all that. So we should not share with them. It is just, we do what is called unilateral disarmament. But if you can do bilateral disarmament, it is much better. But unilateral disarmament is also good if you can do it. So the other thing is about the 5-year-old child. So the first thing is recognize that in us all there is a 5-year-old child. However strong or mature that person may seem to be, they have a 5-year-old child. And even though I am, I don't know how old you are, I won't say, but
30.
Yeah, 30, then I still have a 5-year-old child in me. So the first thing I need to do is to talk to my 5-year-old child and to feel connected to the 5-year-old child. So when something happens is, how did my 5-year-old child feel? What kind of memories from my childhood did that situation bring up? So when we recognize that, then we understand ourselves better. And then, yes, my 5-year-old child is reacting. It's being hurt. It's fragile, it's vulnerable. And then the next thing, when we can really be in touch, we see, oh, the other person, they also have a 5-year-old child. And how does their 5-year-old child manifest? How does their 5-year-old child react? And then we can feel, we understand that other person better. And when we really understand another person, we start to look at them differently. Before, when we looked at that person who make us suffer, the look in our eyes, it already told the other person something. Even though we never said, you make me suffer. But something in our, especially women, they're very sensitive to this. The look in your eye, it already told. And when you understand the other person, the look in your eye is completely different. You cannot try to change the look in your eye because it comes from somewhere in your brain and you cannot change it. But if you understand that person, you feel compassion for that person, it will shine out automatically from your eyes. And even if you try and smile and to the other person, but you feel, it will also shine out from your eyes. Yeah.
In front of the challenges that the world is facing right now,
yes,
how can we keep an open heart?
Yeah. I think that it is necessary to know that our loving kindness, our compassion, our happiness, our true happiness, our deep happiness, being in touch with nature and the wonders of life, are very important elements that cannot be destroyed. And if we human beings manage to destroy life on this planet, which it seems that we are quite capable of doing, if we don't do it with our weapons, we will do it with our global warming, with our use of fossil fuels and things like that. So if we do, as humans, manage to wipe out ourselves and all other living things on the planet, then Mother Earth has a wonderful way of renewing herself. She's been through disasters in the past, and she's managed after 100 million years to renew herself with new life. So what we do with our speech, our thought, and our bodily action in the direction of peace rather than in the direction of war is not something that's lost. If we do in the direction of war, it's not lost. You will see many more wars coming. But if enough of us can do things with our body, speech, and mind in the direction of peace, then there will be no more war. So many people have said if everybody could practice sitting meditation, walking meditation, then there will be no more war. Yeah, but at the moment we didn't get there yet. Still, what we can do is do our practice, and the spiritual energy from that practice will not be lost. So that in 100 million years from now, when our planet has life on it again, our spiritual energy will still be there to make positive things in the future. And also we need to know, what can I do now to keep our heart open? What can I do to keep my heart open? Keep my heart open toward my family members, toward the people who are doing so much harm, but they are not individuals. That's another thing we have to see. Sometimes I see the farmers, they spray so much pesticide, herbicide, other fungicide, all the time spraying. And first I feel a little bit angry with them. I think, what are you doing, put all this spray, damaging everybody's health? But then I see that they are caught up. They are caught in a whole system, and they cannot escape from it. It's not just us who breathe in the spray, well, they breathe it in too, but who are the victim. They are also the victim. So it's necessary not to make that distinction between victim and victimize, but to be able to see that the person we think is the victimizer is also a victim. So we can do many things, and practicing Vipassana, practicing Shamatha, practicing Mahayana in the right way, we're all doing the same thing. We are putting little drops of spirituality, of love into the collective. It cannot be lost.
Great. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much. If you want to know more about Plum Village, you can look in the link below. Also, you will find a link for the books of Sister True Virtue. And there is the website of the Women Awakening Project if you want to discover what else we are doing and the ways to support us. I also want to thank the donors, the supporters who are permitting this journey to continue and this wisdom to be gathered and shared. Thank you again, sister.
Yeah, thank you.